Wanted to tell you about something I've just done this last year, actually. Okay, it's called Indian Nadi palm leaf reading. So, Nadi is spelled Nadi. I had heard about it from a friend, and then I'd heard it about, on different podcasts. They'd been talking about it. I've always kind of like I knew when I heard it for the first time. I was like, someday I'm going to do that. And what I'd heard is that you go to the south of India and they have somewhere there's a palm leaf that has the story of your life on it, including when you're going to die. And so I was like, well, shoot, I want to know that. So I went, I, so it was just kind of in the back of my mind as something I wanted to do eventually. So in March, I contacted a friend who I knew had done this just recently and got in touch with the person that she had coordinated this reading through. So the woman's name is Punam Patel, and she's from LA, and she's an incredible woman, totally trustworthy. I mean, way beyond that. She's an incredible woman, multi-dimensional being for sure. Okay, um, so we had this initial consultation and then what I needed to do is like send my thumbprint, like just my thumbprint to this group of people in India. Couple weeks, like they take that thumbprint and they find my bundles, like three bundles of leaves that are most likely to have my leaf in it. So a couple weeks later, she calls me up and is like, they found your bundles. Let's set up a meeting. So we did this on Zoom. So I met with them, and what they do is they ask you yes or no questions about the leaves. So they take their, the leaves, and then they'll ask questions like, does your dad's name have five letters in it? Are you a doctor? Just like yes or no questions. And if you say no, then they move on to the next leaf. So when they get to your leaf, they say, is your name Rebecca? Is your husband's name Harry? Is your mom's name Janice? Is your dad's name Major? Is your birthday, October 13th, 1965? Like everything is exactly right. Do you have two brothers and two sisters? And I thought, oh my God, there's my leaf. So it was just this profound moment that my leaf was found. Okay. So then you schedule another meeting and they talk about um, they kind of redo your reading and they tell you about your life, what your life's been like so far, a little bit about your like demographics, brothers and sisters, and all just those things to verify it's you. And then they tell you a little bit about what's happening, where you're going in your life. They also then talk about a past life that is affecting this life. And then they talk about the karma that's getting in the way of your life. Now, all of this, just like with anything, I just kind of hold it loosely because, what do we do? I don't know. Do I believe it or not? It's fun. So I'm going with that. I was really excited to know about this stuff. Okay, I probably I also don't believe that I am affected by karma. Like I feel as though I've already done this, I've been here before. I'm here on a mission. It's not about karma for me. But the story they told me was so crazy that I thought, oh God, it probably is true. So what it was about is they said that I lived in Sri Lanka and I was a wealthy person in Sri Lanka and I hated dogs because there's like wild dogs everywhere, even in India. And so I just poisoned them all, which is horrible. I mean, this was a past life, not this life, because I would never poison a dog. But if what's so crazy is I've been terrorized by dogs my whole life. I grew up in areas where there were no leash laws, and there were like hundreds of dogs that would run around in packs and chase us on our bicycles. Like this happened to me my whole life. So I'm not super comfortable with dogs. And in fact, right now I'm surrounded by angry dogs that bark and are just so angry. So I just thought, oh my God, there's got to be something to this because it's just so like, of all things, that's the only thing I probably would have believed. Okay, so then there's things you have to do. So you can remedy karma. So what the whole playing is about remedying your karma. And so you can, one of the things they said is that I needed to say like 108 mantras twice a day for 384 days. And, that's pretty crazy. So chances are good in my world of not being able to sit still very much. Um, I was like, well, that's unlikely, but you can have somebody do that for you. So Punam's group in India will do these mantras for you for, twice a day, 108 for 364 days. And then they do it over this little like copper plate. And then after that, they roll it up and put it in a tube and then send it to you. So that's like, I don't know, $500 or something like that. So of course I paid it. And like again, I would say I'm not even superstitious. I just love these things. I don't know. To me, it's like a celebration of culture and a culture different from mine. So I'm so excited to be a part of it and to understand what this is all about. Okay, so the next step is that in this reading, you're given temples that you need to visit and things you need to do at those temples. And so they said that I had 11 temples I needed to visit. And so Punam she coordinates people's trips to India to go to the temples and do the things that you need to do at the temples. And so what that looks like is you have to light lamp lighting is what it's called. So they're these little kind of like ghee lights. They're little ceramic or pottery ghee lights that have a wick and ghee in them, and then they burn. It's like an oil lamp. So you light them, and then you have to do this thing called archanas. Well, it makes sense until you do it yourself. Um, they're offerings. And so in each of the temples, you go to three different shrines that you give offerings to. So an offering is a plate of bananas, coconuts, flowers, and other things. So if, the shrine is Ganesh, you're giving I think we had like some kind of grass that Ganesh would eat grass as an elephant. So you take these, you hand them to the person that's like they call them the priest, the pundit, or the swami who is in the shrine, and he takes these offerings and then he brings them to the shrine, puts them on the shrine, does this blessing, and then gives you these back so you can eat the blessed bananas, coconuts, wear the flowers, or have these back. And then they put like this like ash on your head, white and red. And I think, feminine, masculine. It's so crazy. Okay, so I got to go then just a couple weeks ago to India to do these temples, a temple tour. And I was there with five other women, including Punam, and we went to 40 temples in 5 days. So it just seems crazy that anybody would do that. Like it was kind of a whirlwind, somewhat like a karmic boot camp, if you will. So so each day we had about, what would that be? Like 8 a day. So we did like 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. We'd go to the 3 different places we need to go in each of the shrines. We'd go to see all the other shrines that were within the shrine and just could feel into the spaces and see these magnificent spaces. Some of them so old and some of them new, and it was remarkable. What was so remarkable about it is this, like I was barefoot for a week. So you walk into these places with barefoot and, stacks of shoes outside. And eventually we just decided, well, let's just not wear shoes at all, even up to the front door, because why? They might just get lost. Somebody might accidentally take them. Let's just not wear shoes. So we just were like without shoes in India for about a week. Okay, I love this because it's about grounding and really about feeling into a space. Like you're walking on these ancient stones with your bare feet. I feel like we have so many receptors in our feet that the energy is just coming up through us. Plus, you're in this kind of otherworldly space. And I think it's really important to be grounded. So your feet are on the ground. Get kind of like boots on the ground. We're doing this work here in the like in India. Um, so I thought that was just so incredible. There was something else I was going to say about it. Now I forget. But okay, here's some of the things I gained from it. I have this kind of weird thing about worship. I'm not sure Jesus would have ever wanted us to worship him. And I can't think, like, my version of God doesn't expect to be worshiped. So this concept of worshiping is a little bit weird for me. And so one of the beautiful women I went with, had the same idea. And she's like, yeah, worship's weird. I don't think she had any religious background. So she's like, well, you guys are weird. We're doing things. Well, okay. So whatever. It is weird, I think. So we go into these shrines and it's all about, like, I have this concept that it's all about worshiping. We are there worshiping the shrine. So standing there looking in, watching the guy bless, and the shrine kind of speaks to me and said, I'm only here to reflect back to you the divine essence in you. So I thought, okay, I can get behind that. That sounds like actually amazing and felt so true to me. They are only reflecting back to us the divinity in our own self. So excellent. I just thought that was really so cool. They were just amazing. They were amazing things, and we were there with this guy who was kind of taking us around, and he would say 10-minute meditation. So we'd sit down wherever we were, just right on the ground, and we'd meditate. And at one point, I was shown that I was holding this book. Like, I don't know, I was in the Vatican archives and I was holding on to this book that I had written. And I was learning and understanding and like receiving the light codes or the codes of it. And my gosh, that was just so astonishing. So there were moments throughout the whole thing that were really impactful and kind of otherworldly. And also, when you're going to 40 temples in 5 days, it's hard to really integrate that and, you know, I don't know, like unpack something because I feel like right then I'm actually kind of a sponge of the information. And then later I can unpack and get the messaging from what happened. So honestly, it was the neatest thing. It was fun to be the one honored because I had 11 out of those temples were mine. And so I was the one being honored at those temples. And then the people that were with me were witnessing the honoring of me. And then I got to witness the honoring of them, which was so cool. It was so cool. I feel as though a person needs to go with somebody so they have both experiences to be the honored and then to do the honoring. So it's going to be another months and months and months before I get my little thing back. I think it's called a puja or something that I get back that from the 180 or 108 mantras said twice a day for 364 days. So that will be kind of the final experience. And the whole thing was just so worth it and so interesting. And, because Poonam's just, I don't know, she's just so good. She was so good at this, in this whole experience. I just trusted her and felt so cared for. And, here's another thing I was really surprised about. India's infrastructure was way better than what I expected. I'd never been to India. I've been to Nepal, but I've never been to India. And the roads we were on were like incredible highways. And then we'd go through these little villages and they were all, lots of people and stuff. But what was really strange about it is when we drive through in the morning, they were all kind of cleaned and swept and everything looked nice and tidy. And then, at a certain point, it all erupts into aliveness and then there's trash and scooters and all this. It just was it just was mind blowing, honestly. Beautiful in so many different ways. And the people were incredible. And what we're doing too is supporting a cultural economy. As you walk into these temples, there's booths that sort of line the pathway in that sell the stuff that you buy for blessings. So you're spending money giving, buying these things. You bring them in and you have to pay a little bit of money to get them blessed. So there's all kinds of money transpiring or given, shared. But that it's not that very it's really not that much money like for us, but um it's just beautiful to be a part of this kind of cultural exchange. So I recommend anybody do it. And if you need me to get you in touch with Poonam, I can because she's awesome. And it really didn't take very long for me to get this process going, you know, just going. So it was incredible. All right. I'm so glad I got to share. It's always fun to be able to tell the story. All right. Thank you.